the P-I-G pig.
Hold my beer. I cannot think of a better goddamn opening line for a video after today. It's October 2nd, and I'm just fucking stunned. Like absolutely stunned. Like, I don't have a... I'm at a goddamn loss for words, people. And as someone who gets on a video camera and eats and talks, for me to be at a loss of words is something to say. Now, I made that quarter pounder video the other night. Kind of on a quick side trip. Came home, threw my shirt off in front of the computer, chowed down, and get back out. I honestly had no goddamn idea what kind of fucking world I was going to wake up to this morning. And it was kind of bad enough as was. Because yesterday was Sunday. Sunday meant that we had NFL games. And that meant that we had people getting all pissed off at the football players for protesting racist police and racist police brutality. That right there. I don't hold the fact that I'm old. I'm kind of happy that I've survived to the point where I've gotten. But I'm stunned because I'm looking out when I was a little boy back in the early 1970s. Racism was prevalent everywhere. You would hear the slur, the big one, mentioned in casual conversation on the street. You would even see some people using it towards African Americans in a mixed setting. Like no big deal. They would drop that the way that I drop an F-bomb in a video without even thinking about it. And by the time I was in elementary school, I knew that was wrong. But what are you going to do when you're surrounded by racist people everywhere? You just try to make the little incremental changes that you can make. In this case, my incremental change was me. And I always thought that when I got older, the world was going to change. And it kind of did. Eventually, people got to the point where they were not using that word in public places. They were not using that word in the faces of African Americans. Now, mind you, they were still doing it behind their back, but I honestly thought that I was seeing change. And then something started happening. Well, shit. Oh. I'm thinking back to Rodney King now. That was 1992. That wasn't change. And I say that because, you know, Rodney King was one of those moments where the fates kind of aligned. You had the police engaging in police brutality, and you had someone with one of those big old over-the-shoulder VHS cameras, and they just happened to be in the right place, and they just happened to catch it on tape. And it circulated, and it made the news. And even then, 1992, 21 years old, I thought this is it. This is the moment when everything kind of starts to change. We're going to have a dialogue on racism. We're going to start to confront people who are behaving racistly. We're going to start to confront cops. Let me rephrase that. We're going to start to confront racist cops. And things are going to change. And then we get in to 2014. And I'm ashamed to say, I can't even name all the names. It started off with Ferguson. And then Eric Garner. And then a kid with a goddamn airsoft rifle. A fucking toy. I sat and, man, I read that on my smartphone. I don't watch the videos when they're posted. I know they're out there. I choose not to see them. I don't care to see them. They're human snuff films. That's all they are. Now, okay, they're human snuff films and they're entertainment for racist white people, but that's it. But it just went and it went and it went and it went. And it got to the point where news of African Americans getting shot, they were common, man. We hit the fatigue point. African American male gets shot, killed by the police, and man, it's like we're so numb to it, we're so used to it happening. I'm still shocked. I still won't watch the videos. I sit, I watch the phone, and I'll just shake my damn head, man. Like, Philando goddamn Castile. The dude said, I have a gun. He was doing everything he should have, and the man is still dead. We have a problem with violent, racist cops, a lot of whom are coming over from the military. Now, again, I got nothing but love and respect for military folks. This is not an anti-military chow rant. But what happens is, folks who are coming back from Afghanistan, folks who are coming back from the military, they usually get channeled into positions of authority. They become prison guards. They become cops. And the problem is, we as a country and a nation do not transition them and give them the emotional and mental support that they need to go from being in an active war zone where they're under fire 24/7. And I understand, but they don't get the support where they're going from an active war zone back into civilian life, and then they get put in these positions of authority where suddenly they have a perceived other. They have a perceived enemy. If you're a prison guard, well, the inmates are your enemy. You're supposed to keep them under control. They get out on the streets, and some of them are racist as hell to begin with. Some of them relearn racism. Some of them just transfer their racism. Light brown person with an Arab name, dark brown person with an African American name. So they come back and they get in hostile positions, and those positions escalate very quickly. And they just pull out fucking guns and they fire. And I'm lost when I see that. Every time I see that, I'm lost up here. I don't get it. I'm a big man. I have always been a big man from the time that I was 11 years old. When I was 11 years old, I could not shop in the children's department anymore. I had outgrown Husky by the age of 11. I was shopping in the men's department. Now, I say that because I'm trying to stress the fact that I have always been big. Big child, big teenager, big adult. And when you're big, society puts it puts you in a certain role. When you're a big male, society casts you in the role of being the tough person, the strong person. You're the scrapper. You're the fighter. You're the tank. And that happened to me more than once. When I was in my early 20s and I'd be out drinking at the bar, I'd have a friend or two who their mouth wrote a check that their ass couldn't cash, and then suddenly I'm getting pushed out when they get into a fight to somehow diffuse it. Well, that's like throwing out a challenge, man. You send a big man out to a scrappy little thin dude who's looking for a fight, man. That's like blood and shark infested waters, man. But I say that because in spite of growing up big, I've never been in a fist fight. I've never been in a fight. There have been some I've run like hell from, but I've never raised my fist to another human being. I've never engaged in an act of physical violence towards another human being because I'm afraid what I would do to him if I ever cut loose. Man, if you ever watch Justice League Unlimited, it's kind of like that last episode of the series when Darkseid is attacking the Earth and Superman just starts beating the shit out of him. Superman gives this great speech. And he's clobbering the living fuck out of Darkseid. He's like, I have to live in a world of glass. I have to live in a world where I'm afraid that I can hurt anybody by doing anything. And I always have to live in a world of restraints. He's like, but you, son, I get to beat the living shit out of you. I get to take the restraints off, man. And they level windows in Metropolis, and it was a great scene, and I can totally understand that because that is the world in which I live. I always worry that come on. Oh shit, we got a foamer. I always worry in the event that if I do get into a fight, and it does come down to that, I'm going to do serious bodily harm to someone. I don't really care about the bodily harm to me. I have turned away from fights, but that does not mean that fights have turned away from me. I've gotten the shit beaten out of me more times than I care to remember. That's just how it goes. But for all that, even when I've been in the most emotional of confrontations, when I got someone right up in my goddamn face, when I got someone who's just, you know the way that skinny little guys will try to goad you into fight by, and they're just hoping that you're going to see that and pop them reflexively. They do that shit to me, man. I'm just like, so for all that, for all the fighting, for all the goading, for all the confrontation, I have never once raised my fist to another human being. I have never once hit another human being in anger. I understand the impulse, but I also understand. I'll tell y'all a quick side story. In spite of a rough and tumble upbringing, I have only been in a cast once. I found out Memorial Day 1994 that a friend of mine that I had a very intense emotional attachment to had died unexpectedly. This person didn't think that much of me. I thought the world of this person, man. He was there for me when I was in a very bad situation. And I kind of bonded, man, because, you know, but when I was growing up, a couple of you have talked to me offline. You know a little bit about my backstory. When I was growing up, man, it was just like perpetual emergency. I was in perpetual, constant crisis. And I met this one person who was there for me, who was kind to me, who extended compassion and empathy, and actually kind of made me feel like a human being who was actually worth something. And again, he probably didn't think a damn thing about it, man. That may have been his personality. And, you know, wherever he is right now, whatever divine entity, if there is one, man, just bless his soul, because I had never had anyone treat me that way before. And I kind of bonded tight to him. And like I said, I thought the world of him. And, man, to me, he may have been, you know, who's this little fat kid who keeps bugging me online? But I say that because I found out, you know, he had kind of pulled away. We were on a system named Furry Muck back then. And he had kind of pulled away. And he had stopped responding a lot. And I even kind of lashed out a little bit, man. It's like, you know, what the hell, man? It's like when someone cuts you off, you want resolution. And what I found out was he got very, very sick. And he knew he was very, very sick. And he didn't want anyone to know he was very, very sick. And he died Memorial Day weekend 1994. And when I got the news, when someone told me that on Furry Muck, I didn't know how to process it. I had this moment. I was dumb and in my 20s and wrestling with a ball of emotion that I wasn't intended to be able to shoulder. There's this big steel door. I wound up, hit that steel door, and it glanced off this part of my hand. And it was one of those moments. It was a very hold my beer moment. As soon as I made contact with that steel door and I felt that pain shooting up my arm, my first thought was, this was not a good life choice. But by that point in time, the damage was done. I had broken a couple bones in my hand, and I had to spend the summer of 1994 in a cast. That was the only time in my life that I ever lost physical control of my body. Like, I acted out of anger. And at that point in time, I knew what I could do. If I could break a bone in my hand, I could break a bone in another human being, or God forbid worse. If I hit them enough in the right places hard enough, if someone pissed me off enough to the point. So I've always kind of been this big old gentle giant. And I understand when these cops are in an emotional situation, I understand the impulse to act violently. However, I do not act out on it, and that is the problem that we have. We have too many goddamn cops who are coming back from high intense situations in the military who aren't getting de-escalated, who are instead just getting pushed into prison jobs and police jobs. And things are ending real fucking horribly for African American people, which led to this whole bend the knee thing, man. It started, I'm going to say it. Some of y'all, you know, I'm a big old fat fucking nerd, man. I don't know a goddamn thing about sports. I know a football on site. It's kind of shaped like a big, long diamond, and apparently it's made out of pigskin. Cheers for you. I don't know a goddamn thing about how to play the game. I don't know a damn thing about how the game works. I know a couple of the teams. That's it. I don't know shit about baseball. I don't know shit about basketball. I don't know shit about hockey. Organized sports and me, I was more concerned with watching cartoons and watching Star Trek The Next Generation and reading comic books. That was my thing. I can tell you all about the goddamn X-Men, starting all the way back from 1963 up to about 2 or 3 years ago. But if you ask me about football statistics, okay. So this started apparently last year with one guy who, when they played the national anthem, he bent down on his knee because he was protesting these racist fucking cops who were killing African American people. And I say good on him. I've had my run-in with shithead police officers. And there's just something about getting that badge and getting that gun and getting that power that goes straight to their fucking heads. Now, I have to say, not all cops. I will say that again. Not all cops are like that. And I'm going to tell you, I know that not all cops are like that. I know that there are some good cops out there. I know that a lot of law enforcement officials went into the career because they were trying to make their neighborhoods a safer place. They were trying to make their states a safer place. I'm not saying that every cop went out on a fucking power trip thinking, I'm going to shoot the first black guy who crosses my path because that's just me. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying, though, is the police have this culture, the thin blue line. It's like a fraternity, man. Come on, they're called the Fraternal Order of Police for a reason. Bad cop fucks up. All the other cops go in to protect and defend that cop. And if you watch on the news, it's always the same goddamn thing. You're not a police officer. You don't understand. They're in high-pressure jobs, and they have to make split-second decisions. Yes. But if that split-second decision involves taking the life of another human being, we might want to add a couple seconds onto it. My hand, after the course of about 6 weeks, was healed up to the point where the cast could come off, and I had to spend about another 6 weeks with a squeeze ball doing physical therapy to get it back up to strength. That was fixable. If you put 50 shots in another human being, I don't know how to tell you this, Officer Krumke, but that human being probably ain't getting up for it, and if they do, their life is not going to be the same. So I understand you have to make a split-second decision. However, what I would like to suggest is maybe if that split-second decision involves depriving another human being of their life, we might want to add some bonus time onto it. Maybe a 5 split-second decision. 1, do I want to kill him? 2, do I want to kill him? 3, can I do a disabling shot off? Maybe hit him in the hip, hit him in the shoulder. 4, 5. That's it. But goddamn, Tamir Rice, the kid with the airsoft gun, man, he was dead within a minute of the cops arriving. That's not a split-second decision. That is psychopathic Roscoe P. Coltrane showing up and deciding that it's easier to do the paperwork on a homicide, a defensive shooting than it is to actually try and investigate and de-escalate the situation. And here's the one thing that I don't want to hear. I really don't give a shit about this argument. The police are under constant assault. People are attacking the police. Yes, they are. However, the police have military body armor. The police have fucking military-grade vehicles. They come out, some of y'all may not remember this. There was a show on CBS called The Nasty Boys. And being the 1980s, I'm sure that nasty was an acronym for something. But it was basically an updated version of SWAT, the old 70s show. So, the whole point of the Nasty Boys was they had this military armor man. They looked like real-life G.I. Joe action figures brought to life. And now they're to the point where a majority of our law enforcement officers show up and they're dressed like the fucking Nasty Boys, man. They got body armor on. They got helmets on. They got faceplates on. They got riot shields. And here's a kid with a fucking air rifle. a paintball gun. And you really mean to tell me that you cannot, as a trained law enforcement professional, let's say that's the other thing too. All the apologists go on Fox News and CNN and MSNBC. These are professionals. These are professional law enforcement officers. Then they need to display professional judgment when they're trying to figure out what's a real gun and what's a toy gun. So getting off my tangent, Colin Kaepernick starts kneeling during the national anthem. And oh my God. Social conservatives everywhere just start shitting and pissing their pants in unison and moral outrage. Wait, so this African American with dreadlocks is kneeling during our national anthem. He's disrespecting our flag. And he did it all season. He got media attention for it the couple weeks because, well, let's be honest, you know. I've been to events before where the national anthem is played. And the idea is, now, you know, I was too poor for Boy Scouts growing up. So I didn't do Boy Scouts, but every morning that bell would go off and we were all supposed to stand at our desks and face the flag that was in whatever corner of the room. Usually it was in front of the chalkboard. Put your right hand over your heart and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. That was how that you demonstrated that you were patriotic. And that transfers over to sporting events and other public gatherings. Most of them will open with the playing of the national anthem. And the idea is, you know, if you're able-bodied, you stand and you face the flag. You know, you take your hat off and you put it in the hand and put the right hand over the heart. And you wait until that singer is done singing the national anthem. And here comes Colin Kaepernick, who isn't doing that, but instead protesting racist police culture. He goes down on one knee for the national anthem. And my God, man, white people just fucking lost their shit over that. What is he doing? Why is his hand not over his heart? He's kneeling. Is he okay? This guy's on my fantasy football team. He better not die in the middle of the national anthem. So the theory is it cost him a place in the NFL in this current season. Now, again, I don't watch football. I'm not a football guy. I own that. I got enough drama in my day-to-day life. I don't need it piped in through a Facebook news feed. But from what I understand, Kaepernick was released from his contract from the team that had him last year. Damn, another foamer. And basically struggled to find a team to play on. But here's the thing that's got all the white people pissed off right now. It's kind of like, you ever see the Hunger Games films? I think it was the second one. when Katniss and Peeta, they go to Rue's district. And Katniss is kind of struggling mentally because, you know, she befriended this little girl, and this little girl died in her arms, and this little girl shouldn't have been in the games to begin with because, well, you know, she was a little girl, couldn't defend herself, and she gives this speech. And she winds up inspiring this gentleman in the crowd who makes a gesture, and then we find out by the end of the film all sorts of people are making this gesture. Well, Kaepernick did the exact same thing. So now you got more and more people. They're falling down to their knees during the national anthem, and oh my God, conservative white people are shitting their pants like crazy over this. And leave it to the shithead in chief to try to turn this into a debate about the flag. The guy who has his job because of Russian interference in the election is somehow turning this protest into disrespecting the flag. You know, because like Donald Trump in his gold throne room somehow had American flags everywhere. Okay, G.I. Joe, you keep going on with that. And I'm just stunned. We're having this conversation in 2017 about racist cops, racist cop brutality, and you have the president, instead of coming out and saying racist cops killing African Americans is a bad thing, he's trying to turn that protest into a debate about respecting the flag. When he himself has Vladimir Putin to thank for his job. Part of me always wants to say, only in America could something like this happen. So I'm just stunned. This whole hashtag bend the knee thing, I am absolutely stunned that we are even having this discussion in the United States of America in 2017. When I was a little boy, and I was down in the South, and I would hear people throw the N-word out casually on the street in conversation, the same way that we talk about stuff on the news right now. Did you see that Facebook article? Back then, people would throw the N-word out just like it was another part of speech. And they didn't care if African Americans were in earshot. Some of them were hoping there were. And some of them were hoping that they could get a fight out of it because, you know, fucking rednecks are as rednecks are. But here we are in 2017, man. I honestly thought things would get kind of better. Maybe a little better. We're in a world fueled by systemic racism, especially in the United States. And I've tried to do what I can to change that. And I will still try to do what I can to change that. But I'm fucking stunned that NFL players, first of all, have to protest racist killer cops, and B, society allows racist killer cops to exist. That was not what I was told to expect when I was a kid. When I was a kid, the police were the people that you went to when you had a problem. If you're playing with your friends in the playground and a creepy dude pulls up in a van and he's offering you candy and toys to get in the van, run to the cops. The cops are going to help you. In 2017, I'm goddamn afraid to run to the cops. The cops will shoot my fat ass. Now, again, I got to say, not all cops, but here's the thing. And I had a real situation a couple years ago. I'm driving in Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm on I-440, which is kind of the beltway that connects the entire Raleigh area. And I got pulled over. I was like, oh, shit, I got caught. And I was in North Raleigh. So the cop was real defensive at first. Put your hands on the steering wheel, sir. Okay. I need to see your driver's license and registration. Well, in order to do that, I'm going to have to take my hands off the steering wheel. May I take my hands off the steering wheel? Yes, you can. But don't make any sudden gestures. So anyway, by the end of the conversation, I had the cop went over to the point where, A, most importantly, he wasn't going to give my fat ass a citation because that would make my insurance go up. But B, he had a conversation with me. And in that conversation, he said, you know, especially, well, you have to understand, if you're driving in this part of town, you need to be really careful. Hey, first, don't get pulled over. But if you get pulled over, do exactly what the cops tell you. When the cop pulls up to your car, have your hands at 10 and 2. Don't make any sudden gestures for your phone. Don't make any sudden gestures for your... I lucked the fuck out, man. If I were about 7 or 8 shades darker, if my lips were a little fuller, my nose was wider, and this was more curly, and this was more curly, I don't know what the fuck would have happened. I would have at least gotten a ticket, but God forbid, man, my fat ass may have been killed. And that bothers the hell out of me, man. It's 2017. This is not the way it's supposed to be. And now, every Sunday, you have people watching the NFL just to see what players and what teams are going to take a knee and who's going to stand up. Anybody who wants to protest should be able to protest. Now, I saw an interesting comment made on Real Time with Bill Maher last week, where they were talking about the protesters. And someone gave the comment, Agent Orange is turning this into an issue of respecting the flag. Those players, they ain't standing for the national anthem. They ain't putting their hands over their hearts. Instead, they're going down on their knees. That's disrespectful. It's huge. It's hugely disrespectful. But nobody's ever stopping to think about the fact that these racist cops who are killing African Americans are wearing the same goddamn flag on their uniforms. Nobody ever brings that up. So again, I'm at a loss. I want to be one of these people who helped change the system. I want to be one of these people who helps other people live a better, happier, safer life. I'm at a loss. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do it. It gets frustrating for me to turn on the news and see at least once a month another African American has been shot by racist cops. It gets frustrating for me to see African Americans who have a legitimate right to protest, racist cops in this racist system who get shouted down by fucking white people on Fox News in particular, who have their credibilities and identities as Americans questioned. Maybe it's just me with my 9th grade education. But I could have sworn that this country was built on protests. I don't know, man. Maybe I just had like different textbooks or something, but that whole Boston Tea Party, wasn't that whole Boston Tea Party an act of protest? Now I understand that they were white Europeans. And because they were white Europeans, they get a pass. But at the same time, this country was literally built on protest. When Paul Revere was riding, shouting, "The British are coming, the British are coming," that for me was an act of protest. So I don't understand. Well, I do understand because they're all racist shitbags. I don't understand, though, why the people on Fox News are having such an issue with this controversy in the news, and why instead we aren't talking about what is it that makes angry racist killer cops angry racist killer cops. Which leads into my next hold my beer moment. Now, again, it's October 2nd. And I dragged my fat ass out of that bed over there. And I shambled over in front of this computer and I pulled up social media. And the first thing that I fucking saw was Las Vegas. As of this point in time, 60 people dead, over 500 wounded. Now, sit down and stew on that for a second. 60 human beings have lost their lives. 60. 6-0. 6 times 10. 5 times 12. 3 times 20. That many human beings have lost their lives. 60. Over 500 are injured. In the last 24 hours, 500 human beings have been to a hospital for gunshot wounds. Some are more serious than others. Some of those 500 people may very well die and increase that 60. But think about those two goddamn numbers for a second. "60 human beings no longer have their lives. 60 families have lost loved ones. 60 connections between friends for those 60 people have been broken forever. No goodbyes, no resolution, gone in a shot, literally. What we know so far is that the assailant, who like a chicken shitbag killed himself once he was done doing his dirty work, the old pistol to the head or the pistol to the mouth, whatever, he had almost or over, depending on who you're talking to, 20 firearms. 20. 20. Oh. Now again, think about that. He had 2 set up on tripods. And again, I don't watch the videos. I don't care to see the videos. I don't need to see the pictures. You can call me big, dumb, and naive. I'll own that. Big, dumb, and naive tiger here. This is me. Big, dumb, and naive. If I hear from multiple news sources that 60 people are dead and 500 are wounded, I'm going to take your word for it. If all the news sources are saying that, I don't need to see pictures of dead bodies at a music festival to believe it. I don't need to see pictures of bloodied, shot human beings staggering away, permanently broken, permanently traumatized to believe it. So, 20 firearms, 2 on tripods. And I guess he had broken the windows out of this hotel room that he was in so he could get a good shot down into that crowd. Now, I say that because, again, some of y'all talk to me offline. Some of you actually know the person behind the masturbation photo that you're looking at right now. I'm a big old fucking music lover, man. When I was a kid, man, music was my escape. MTV was what I always used to watch. And when I had the money and when I had the opportunity and the transportation, I'd go out and I'd see live shows, man. I haven't done it in a while. The last concert that I was, the last festival that I was at was the Hopscotch Festival here in Raleigh back in 2015. Google it, whichever show St. Vincent was playing at. But I've been to music festivals, man. When I read that on the news, that could have been my fat ass there in the crowd. Shot the fuck up. Because some psychopath asshole on the 32nd floor had enough munitions to fuel a small third world army, just decided he was going to start firing down into the crowd. So, of course, as always happens with these situations, the NRA runs out, hey, he's not with us. He's not with us. We don't know who he is. Good guy with a gun. Good guy. Well, but in this case, though, it ain't a good guy with a gun. If your 30-second story is up there, instead what you need is a good guy with a goddamn sniper rifle that can run in automatic mode. This good guy with a gun bullshit just does not fly anymore. But that doesn't stop him from trotting it out. Likewise, the GOP. Because here's the thing that bothers me about this particular tragedy in particular is this was at a country music festival. Now, I just told you all that the last show that I saw at a music festival was St. Vincent. I've never been a big fan of country music. Too much forced exposure to hee-haw as a kid, I suspect. But these were country music fans. This is the GOP's bread and butter. These are the people whose vote put Agent Orange, let me rephrase that. These are the people whose votes theoretically put Agent Orange in power. In other words, the Republican base was the victim of this act of mass violence. And by the way, this event has surpassed the Pulse Massacre as the largest mass shooting in the United States. Now think about that. And again, the Pulse Massacre hit close to home when the Pulse Massacre happened. Some of y'all talk to me on Twitter. Some of y'all talk to me on Telegram. Some of y'all talk to me on Kick. Some of y'all talk to me on WhatsApp. Some of y'all talk to me on Tumblr. You know a little bit about my backstory. You know that I'm not 100% heterosexual. That Pulse Massacre, Had I been a younger man with a higher sex drive, that Pulse Massacre could have been someone like me way back when. And again, that hit close to home. And when the Pulse Massacre hit, man, my thought was, holy shit, it can't get any worse. 40 people dead. It can't get any worse. Hold my beer. So I'll wake up today. And it's kind of sad because, you know, I looked at all the notifications on my phone, and around 3, 4 a.m. this morning, I saw the first notification from Twitter and the CNN. Police responded to a mass shooting. And then every fucking notice, man, the body count just went up and went up and went up and went up. And like I said, today is October 2nd. God bless him, man. I know that body count ain't going to stop at 58. Last time I checked the news, it was 58. I have no doubt that body count is going to go up. And again, the category here is, I don't know what the hell to do about this shit. I mean, seriously. Sandy Hook happens. Almost 5 years ago now. A bunch of little children, little boys, little girls, all lost their lives because of a fucking psychopathic gunman. And we don't have a discussion about our gun culture in the United States. If we do not stop to talk as a country about gun culture and gun reform after little boys and little girls in elementary school are fucking gunned down like goddamn chickens in a coop, what are we supposed to say when 40 gay men, lesbians, transgender folk, and straight folk are gunned down in a straight club? What are we supposed to say when over 60 country music bands who just went out, they just wanted to have a fucking night of music and fun, and got fucking picked off 32 stories up by a guy with a goddamn rapid fire assault rifle? What do you say? What's the number? Is it 100? 200? I remember back in 1995 when the Maher building was bombed in Oklahoma City, we didn't have a conversation about domestic terrorism then. It was just a funny-looking white kid with a crew cut. He was a lone wolf. A lone wolf. Tim McVeigh was no domestic terrorist. He was a lone wolf. Never mind the fact that he had that asshole Terry Nichols working with him. I didn't know that you could be a lone wolf who had a partner in crime. I thought lone wolf meant that you were on your own. And for a little while, we looked at the militia movement. Meanwhile, the militia movement's just getting fucking crazier and fucking crazier. And what I don't want to hear is any of this bullshit you're just an anti-gun liberal. You're just an you hate guns. Fuck you. I grew up in a house, my dad's house, man. Dad was a little paranoid. By a little paranoid, I meant that racist son of a bitch who thought that everyone was going to try to kill him. So goddamn paranoid to the point where there was a gun cabinet in the upper level there was a gun cabinet in the lower level, and both gun cabinets had a wide assortment of rifles and pistols and ammunition. My thought was, I first watched Return of the Living Dead on TV around 1986. My thought was, if a zombie apocalypse breaks out, I'm fucking safe for the time being, because, man, I got any rifle. I had about 12 rifles that I could choose from and at least 8 pistols. I grew up around firearms. I remember when I was a kid and a teenager, man, I had an uncle who would take me out to skeet shoot. Pull! Oh, shit, I missed. Reload. Pull! Oh, shit, I missed. Give me the gun, you're wasting pigeons. God damn it. I'm not afraid of guns. I admit I haven't touched one in about 30 years. 27. I'm not afraid of guns. I am, however, afraid of gun nuts. And that's what we've turned into in this country. Oh. Goddamn gun nuts. Now I understand the name that I'm about to invoke. Are you fucking kidding me? Rant interrupted for just a second. To my friends at Schweppes Ginger Ale, I love your product to the point where I'm giving you an endorsement on the show. That having been said, can we make a goddamn pull tab mechanism that actually opens the goddamn can of soda? I think I got enough here. I'm going to use the back end of my fork. Hey, look at that. Victory! So I'm going to invoke a name that's going to make conservatives piss their pants with anger. Michael Moore had a point in Bowling for Columbine. Now, of course, the problem is anytime someone on the left has a point or actually makes something that's common sense, the goddamn Republicans swarm on that. But Moore's point was pretty simple. We live in a racist culture that makes white people afraid of African Americans. There's a great scene in that film where Moore takes 5 p.m. and 6 p.m. news broadcasts. And he takes clips of the reporters talking about crime stories. And they're talking about the suspects. And he intersperses it. So you have the news reporter saying, the suspect is a black male, 6 foot, 185 pounds. And then it cuts to a picture of a random African-American person. The suspect is a black male, random African person. Black male, random person. Black male. It's fucking brilliant, and it's one of those things that makes you actually stop and think about the world that you grew up in. And that was what I heard. You know, again, man, I don't deny it, man. There are all sorts of racists in my family, and I had to do once I was out on my own in my teens, and I kind of had to separate from that sphere of crazy, I had to deprogram. And once I deprogram, man, you know, I don't like to say the phrase woke because I think it's a little bit of a cliche, but once at least someone nudges you a little bit, you start seeing this shit. And Moore had a goddamn point. Which is why we have this big goddamn gun culture in the United States of America. Something bad happens. Everybody goes out and buys guns, man. Think about what happened after 9/11. September 11th. The United States under attack. 3,500 people lost their lives in the Twin Towers and on the ground. In the white suburbs and rural population, I need to go get me a gun. You know, because a little Browning pistol is going to bring down a 7.67 that's trying to slam into your house or your building. So I woke up this morning in a different world. Actually, I shouldn't say that. To me, the world was different because the volume of human lives that were lost in a gun-related tragedy was higher. I saw people tweeting from overseas, the UK in particular. They don't even report on shit like this anymore. Think about that. When gun violence is so normalized in the United States that foreign countries don't even talk about it anymore. It's a part of our goddamn daily way of life. And that's not the country that I wanted to grow up in. That's not the country that, well, maybe it's kind of the country I was born into. This is not the place that I want to be. And there's no goddamn way that I'm leaving, man, because my fat ass has been paying into Social Security for 30 fucking years now. I can't grab that and go off to the European Union. What am I going to do? Land in Germany and say, hey, talk to the United States government. They got 30 years of Social Security that they can transfer over here. I got a dog in this fight, man. This is my fucking country. This is my fucking home, too. And I've been going for an hour and 7 minutes, man. Jesus Christ. You get drunk and you start talking on YouTube, shit happens. Last goddamn thing, Tom fucking Petty. Jesus, man. I don't know anything about the nature of that man's death at this point in time. I don't even know if the man is dead. 1 second he's in critical condition, the next he's dead, the next, oh shit, man, we made a mistake. Sorry. God damn. I'm too many goddamn people that I admired are dying off. So I'm going to close out on this, man. Tom Petty, last time I checked, you're still with us. Tom Petty, I hope you're still fucking with us to stay, man. I hope you get better. In the meantime, I'm going to close this off. So, what do we learn from this? Racist cops suck. Killer racist cops suck more. It may not mean nothing coming from a big old fat drunk white dude on YouTube. I support the bend the knee. I support Black Lives Matter. I wish there was more I could do to support. I feel like a phony and a fraud when I try to reach out. That having been said, I'm here in spirit, man. But whatever I can do. Finally, get the goddamn guns under control. Seriously. I don't know what the fuck, man. Someone's going to have to kill, what, 300-400 people before we actually do something about this. So, folks, those 4 beers need some processing. I'm going to step away. So until the next time I'm convinced to make a video, y'all be good. Y'all be good to each other. Stay fucking safe out there. Bend a knee. And please, please goddamn stay safe. The world's a fucking dangerous, scary fucking place right now, man. Y'all, I love y'all.
That boy is a P-I-G pig.